Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are, dipping our toe back into the manga scene, the realm, whatever you want to call it. We're reading a horror manga, or we read a horror manga called Gyo, Gyo, and that is by the creator Junji Ito. And I specifically picked this one because one, I had already read it, and I was like, John, you need to read this. It's fucking crazy and weird. And two, this is very, I like this because it had similar concepts to other things I like. And when I can relate some things to other things, I'm like, okay, I get, it helps me comprehend some things. This book had a lot of ideas in it, but the main idea was a lot like The Thing, like body horror, the movie The Thing from the 80s with Kurt Russell. Mm-hmm. There's a monster, body horror, fucks up people turn into monsters kind of thing. So I liked that about it a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
I
you need to read this, John. It's fucking awesome.
The subtitle caught me right away because it says "The Death Stench Creeps," and I was like, "Oh,
stench creeps."
That's such a like that. That almost gives me like a little chill. Like, ooh, like that sounds really off-putting. Like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about it other than like what you said. You were like, yeah, it's kind of like think like The Thing, and like then some other crazy stuff happens because there's like multiple layers. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And you've never read Junji Ito at all, right?
I have never read. Okay. I have read pieces of manga until we read the Yamcha.
Dragon Ball.
I came back. I was reincarnated as Yamcha. Shout out again to
fantastic.
Otakuology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had like.
He also recommended some stuff by Junji Ito.
So okay, perfect. Well, in particular, yeah, so this is. I will say this is my first real official, since that one was technically a fan.
Yes. Yeah.
One. So this, not that it wasn't amazing, because I really did enjoy.
I enjoyed that a lot.
But this one, so this being my first real manga to sit down and go all the way through, yeah, I'm down for this the horror element.
Yes.
I didn't even think of it. It's funny because I watched enough anime to know that there's some weird horror messed up animes.
Yes.
So why wouldn't that be in the manga as well? And yeah, so this was very cool.
And I gotta say, I mean, there's very few horror comics that I've read where I've been like, that's like a fucking great idea, and there's horrific things in it.
Yeah.
That I'm like, holy fuck.
We've done some fun ones. I liked Harrow County. That was more just creepy, ooh, but
it was creepy.
And then the American Vampire, the elements, the basic of the vampires in that were cool, and they definitely when they vamp out is really kind of.
But I guess because they're vampires, it didn't scare me. It wasn't anything.
We're desensitized.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's so 2009.
yeah, it's way before True Blood.
All the vampires are out from Twilight and True Blood,
Buffy
and Buffy, and then all the zombies are out now. We've done
Walking Dead,
the Walking Dead stuff. So now we're on to
Frankenstein's. I don't know, but I very rarely have I read something that's been holy fuck, shocking when you turn the page.
Yeah, and this
book had multiple holy fuck page turns in it. So I will give it to the Japanese, specifically Junji Ito. He is a fucking horrific motherfucker. He knows how to write a page.
Yeah,
or how to write a page turn. I'll say.
Yeah, he had some very creepy and original designs. It was whoa,
yeah,
that is wild.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get into it before we, just keep talking about how horrific it was and not actually talk about it. But yeah, so this book, it's great. There's only 4 characters in this book, and then you only need to know 2 of them for most of it. So it's kind of there's very limited character base you have to follow. Not a lot of names you have to memorize, but the 2 main characters in this are there's a boyfriend and girlfriend, and the guy's name is Tadashi, and the girl's name is Kaori. And I don't know how long they've been going out. She seemed very annoying, so I don't know how long. It seemed maybe they wouldn't seem like they were going to be married or anything.
Yeah, especially because he kept saying like, "Do you want to have a I don't know about it wasn't like first kiss, but like, do you want to kiss?" And she was like, "No, like."
Like, let's hold off. I don't want. Whoa.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe like the last time we kissed, it didn't smell great. Maybe you should brush your teeth.
Yeah,
like, whoa.
That's true. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, if they're already like going for a while, then no one cares about that. So you've woken up next to your wife and she just kisses you and like, hey, whoa, whatever. But yeah, so it starts off. And Tadashi is like scuba diving, which I thought this was funny. He just leaves his girlfriend on the boat by herself, presumably, because there wasn't anybody else on that boat, and just sitting above. And he's like scuba diving. So you're supposed to always go with a buddy when you scuba dive, right? Yeah. And I'm assuming she doesn't know how to scuba dive because she doesn't have any gear on. So like he's breaking all these rules and shit, just whatever. So he's already a rebel badass, you can tell. And so, just because of this, and he's scuba diving, there's all these fucking tiger sharks around, and he's like, "Oh, tiger sharks, huh?" Like, yeah, like he doesn't seem to be too freaked out until they start trying to attack him. But he finds like a battleship, and that's kind of like the main first thing that like he's like, "Oh, cool, a battleship," like in his head, and that like is kind of foreshadowing for what comes later, where they kind of explain some stuff, but. Then like something swims by him in a very quick like bubble blast. He doesn't really see it, and then that's what the sharks are following. And then they see him, and then they try to go after him. So he gets out of there. He goes back up to his ship, and he actually gets out. And he's like, "Come on, like help me out, woman. You're just sitting here." Like, that's why I was like, "There's just him and her on this boat." Like, yeah. No, there's no other dude. Like, it's a pretty big boat too, so you know. I don't know if she knows how to drive, and she's just sitting there like doing nothing. Well, she's not much, fishing.
And this is the thing. Like she's pretty much complaining from this.
Yeah, I will say this. Like, this is literally
makes me sick.
Yeah, this is literally like. It was a little hard to feel sorry for her until a certain point in this book because I'm like, wow, she is annoying. And kind of useless in this book. So I'll say that about one of my critiques is she's not really fleshed out or given a personality other than annoying girlfriend who isn't like supposed to really do anything. And then, which kind of not sours, but it kind of makes some of the later sentimental moments that kind of are supposed to happen less impactful. Yeah. But I mean, that's small. This is a horror movie. Like, I mean, think about every horror movie you've ever seen. There's always like a girlfriend and boyfriend like, "I love you forever."
That's true. Like, yeah, there's a jock that's like, "What's up, babe?
Yeah.
We're gonna, screw when everybody else is gone." She's like, "Oh, shut up, no, I'm not like that." And then something will happen later, and it's like, "No, Jimmy, don't die. I love you."
Yeah. So it's kind of like in that it's a horror movie. or a horror manga. I'm willing to overlook certain things because the tropes of horror just demand that you do that kind of thing. So. But yeah, so they walk into like this fish market as they're leaving the boat dock area after they get back, and she's like, "Oh, it smells bad," and then she's like, "Oh man," like automatically she's like, "Your breath smells bad. Don't kiss me," and all this stuff. So she's got a thing with smells. We've established she smells the fish market and is like, "Ew."
She smells the sea, ew. She smells the fish market, ew.
And then
she's got a smell
smells
thing
breath,
going on.
ew. So then she like leaves because she gets mad at him. And then he's like, "Oh, I better go like find her," after it's been like a couple minutes or whatever. And she sees something in the grass or whatever that smells really bad and is also like moves really fast. And he can't see it. And she's like, "Oh, is it a snake or what is it?" He's like, "I don't know what the fuck it was. Like it just ran right by us." So then she's like, "I can't get that smell out of my nose or whatever. So like I'm gonna take a shower." I don't know what it was, but like maybe it's on me or something. So, and like it keeps getting stronger to her. She takes a shower, nothing. Then she's like, "Is it me or is there something? Are you cooking something? What's wrong with this? It smells even worse in here now." So basically you're like, as you're reading this, you're like, "Oh, it's in the house now. You're thinking whatever smells bad is
Yeah,
in this
even
house.
Tadashi's finally like, okay, something is
does.
a little off.
Yeah. And so that's when she hears like, doop, 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 and she's like, wait, what? And she's like, because she's taking her second shower.
Yeah, she
now.
goes for another. She's like, I'm gonna take another shower.
And that's whenever bad stuff happens in a horror movie, it's whenever a girl's in a shower. Okay, we also say this is not a book for children.
Yes.
So there's very graphic violence and then also a little bit of nudity in it. So just so you know, I mean, I would have read this when I was 13 and be like, fuck yeah. But whatever.
Well, I mean, I think most of our listeners know our podcast in general. We curse a little.
It's not a child's podcast.
Exactly. We definitely will say there's ones out there we've read that are good for all ages, everybody. But this is definitely a little more mature audience.
Yeah. So, but just wanted to throw that out there. There's some nudity. There's some really graphic violence in it. So it's pretty awesome violence as well. So, but yeah. So as she's taking her shower, as you do in horror movies, like that's when you're most vulnerable. You're naked, and she's like, like weird tick thumping around and stuff, and then she like looks and she sees some like shadow behind like I don't know, like it's like I don't know what it is because this is like a Japanese bathroom and they have different.
I don't know if it was like a seat or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a seat or like some kind of cabinet or something that's in there. But as she's like, she sees a shadow behind it. She calls out for, and we see like this weird eyeball, which is great. And you're like, what the fuck is it? It's like, and she screams out and she's like, Tadashi, where are you? Or whatever. And he goes in. She's passed out. She's like, I don't know what the fuck happened to her, but she passed out. She just fainted, I guess, from the shock of seeing whatever it was. And it runs past him, and again, it's too fast to see. So, like, whatever was outside is now inside. Also, seems like it's kind of similar to the thing that was under the water because it went right by him really fast, too. And so he starts chasing this thing around the house. He's got, like, a ping pong paddle. I'm like, wow, that's
a vase.
Yeah. Oh, is it a vase? Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was.
It looks like a ping pong paddle.
I saw him pick up a vase, but then he's holding it like
it looks like a
ping pong paddle. Okay. So, it's a vase, John. I believe it's pronounced vase. I just wanted to be able to say it back to you, something. So, but yeah. So then, yeah. So then he's like, okay, like he sees it hiding, and he knows it's behind a piece of furniture, like a dresser. So instead of like moving the dresser and trying to get it, he just like runs into the dresser, pushes it against the wall as hard as he can, and smashes it. And then he pulls it out after he hears like smush, and then like we see what it is, and it's this fish that's got something attached to the bottom of it, but it looks kind of like, until later on when you find out it is attached, it looks like it's growing legs.
Yeah,
like spider or crab fucking legs.
Yeah, to me, it looks like there's something like kind of organically like a big tumory thing growing off the bottom of this fish, and it looks like it's got 4 crabbish legs.
Yeah, and there's also like tubes coming from it that go under its gills, the fish's gills. So it's like, what the fuck is this thing?
What is going on?
It looks pretty creepy. Gotta say. The design of these creatures is really creepy and horrible. And it's just on a different level. Like, I don't know what you have to be thinking of to design these monsters or these creatures, but he must have been on like some good shit or something. Or like on good shit and then watching the most horrific movies ever. So, yeah. But yeah, so this fish.
I just was going to say, and this does take place. This is in Okinawa.
So it's not on the main island of Japan. It's on Okinawa, or it's not on the main island. I don't know what the main island's called. Where Tokyo is, that's the main island, but they're on the island of Okinawa, which is more like a fishing town or a small town kind of vibe to it. And so, and I think they're on vacation, right? Because they go back to Tokyo after this. So.
Yeah, basically, they said they're in like an uncle's.
Or no, they don't go back to Tokyo. They just go back to the main island or whatever. So. They're at like their uncle's cabin or whatever, just chillaxing over here. It'd be like if you go to Galveston or something for the weekend.
Yeah.
But so he's like, oh cool, I killed it. He just like, I don't know what to do with this thing. I've never seen anything like this. I'm just gonna put it in a bag. He smashes it a couple more times with a rock.
Because like the legs are still twitching. So
Yeah. He's just like, I don't get it. I don't know why this thing is still moving and whatever. Like, he's killed it pretty good. And like in the meantime, Kaori wakes up and she's like, "What the fuck? Where is it?" And he's like, "Don't worry, I got it. I killed it for you. I fucking did it like a man or whatever, and took care of it." And then like, so he wraps that thing in a bag, and then he just like, I guess leaves it in the yard, right?
Yeah,
he doesn't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, he duct tapes it in to try to like contain the
Puts the
smell,
rock
'cause
on it.
Yeah, it definitely has like a really bad
Odor.
horrible odor.
Yeah, and she's still like, I can still smell it, or whatever. And like, so he's like, just rest, be in the bed. It's gone. Don't worry about it. And then he's like, don't worry, it's gone away. I mean, I left it in the garden in a bag under a rock. She's like, what the fuck?
I smushed it.
Yeah, that's not away. Like, he's like, what do you mean it's not away? And then like they go to look. He's like, look, I'll show you. And then like it's gone. He's like, son of a bitch. So then then this is like this is like one of the first. There's some weird comedy beats in this as well. I don't want to kind of read some more of his stuff and see if that's a thread in his other manga that are horror manga, because this was funny. This is like she's like, I smell it. I can still smell it. What's going on? And then the bag that had the fish in it floats through the window. Like
it's like it's inflated with the gas,
with methane or whatever the fuck gas
you
it
assume
is.
Dead body, so gas or something like that.
Yeah, and it's just flying around the room, but like it seems to be chasing her. Specifically, like, I'm gonna get you, like, and so like she's running away, and it's following her down the stairs and down the hall.
It kind of felt Sam Raimi to me a little bit.
Yes, this could very much have a Sam Raimi thing, and then also like its little fucking crab legs are poking through the bag.
That's right,
because they're like sharp, and it like stabs Tadashi and like in the hand or whatever, and he's like, what the motherfucker, like, and so it just starts chasing her down the street. Like he's trying to hit it with a chair, it goes out a window, and just she's already like out on the street running, and it starts following her, and it's just like straight up just like hounding her, and it goes all the way to the beach, and then it floats into the ocean area, or like just away into the sea, and then they're standing on the beach, like, well, that was weird. Like he just wanted to go back home, I guess, or whatever. And then as they're on the beach, they see more weird splashing little fish with legs run up onto the beach, and they just start coming out all out now. Just hundreds and hundreds of them just running onto the beach. And well, actually at first it's not hundreds, it's just a couple.
Yeah.
And then they're like more and more people start to find them. So they show like, oh, around the village people are catching fish, and some of the fish that they're catching have these legs. And then
the best is the fishermen out on the sea. They're like pulling up the big net. They're like dumping the fish, and almost all the fish that come out have the little legs on them.
And it's like all the fish, little baby fish, big old fish, all different types. There's no like discerning between these. So, and then they're like trying to hit them with like bats and shit because they're running all over their boat. Squids. There's like squids that are, have the legs and stuff. So what the fuck is all this stuff? And then this is the best one. They're on the beach. It's like the next day or whatever. And this is just like regular beach, not Tadashi and Kaori. Some other people are on the beach. Yeah. And they see like a shark. And they're like, oh my God, shark, get out of the water. And then they run out of the water. And then the shark like...
It's still coming at them.
And it's charging the beach. And then it...
That's weird. What is it doing? It's still coming. It's going to beach itself.
Runs onto the beach with these fucking giant legs. It's a great white shark, too. It's not even like... Let's not fuck around.
A tiger shark.
I don't even know if they have great whites in Okinawa
I mean, they have them in the seas around there, I'm sure. You think it's too far north?
I think it's too far north.
Too cold, maybe? I don't know.
I'm not 100%, but I don't think great whites... I mean, great whites are like off the coast of California and
Australia and...
Yeah, those are all lower areas. Japan's way higher.
It is way higher. Okay, yeah. I was just thinking maybe.
It goes Japan, Alaska-ish. They're like around the same area.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. So, anyway. Yeah, so this great white just fucking jumps out of the water, starts mowing down these people, which it just fucking attacks them. We're just like, like oh
This
yeah.
is the Jaws 2 or 3 we
Yes,
needed.
this is Jaws 4, the Jawsening or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
just like, this is what you wanted to see for Jaws 4 since Jaws 3 was ridiculous in the first place. You might as well have grown legs and just land shark, But yeah, we see on this big great white, you get more of a better look at what it looks like, and you see a lot more of these like organic tubes going into the gill slots of the shark, and the legs are like way beefier and stuff, but they're still like the weird like creepy spindly crab legs looking. But all those people, they fucking dead.
Yeah.
And so then it's the next morning, or it's not the next morning. That was the morning of the next morning where those people died on the beach. Well, now we cut back to Tadashi and Kaori, and Kaori's like, "Oh, was it a dream?" And he's like, "No, everything's fucked up still or whatever."
Yeah. But I swear I got rid of it this time.
Yeah, and she's like, "What?" And he's like, you still smell it?" And she's like, "Yeah, I still smell it." And like, it's like she just can't get this fucking smell out of her head. And then we find out why she smells it, because that fucking great white. It's like, I don't know if the first fish told all the other fish, like, this fucking guy smashed me with a dresser or whatever.
Go get him.
Yeah. But this great white is literally stalking. He looks out at the window and he just sees a fucking great white, like, burner, like right outside his window. He's like, oh my God. And it's like peeking in this window with his fucking dead shark eye, like, you in there? Like, and it's just creepy as hell, man.
You ever seen a shark's eyes?
Yeah.
Kind of like dog's eyes.
Like a dog's eyes.
Oh, lifeless leg.
And so, yeah, it literally is just waiting to, like, kill them. I guess.
And it's funny because he's like, "Don't worry, it's a shark, but it'll go away. It's not, it's not going to come inside.
Yeah.
It's too big."
And this is where she's like, I'm like, okay, you need to calm down, lady. There's a fucking shark walking on land that's trying to murder us. Please stop screaming about how bad it smells.
That's true, because then she's like, I can't take the smell.
There's some more important things happening right now. And this fucking shark, it kind of figures out, because she won't shut up, where they are. And it just starts walking through the house. It bursts through the door. It's like, I'm going to get you. Like,
I'm going to get you.
Yeah, he's trying to hold the door. I'm like, you're not going to hold back a shark with fucking legs that just walked on the beach. I don't know what you're trying to do here, but it's like, a 3,000-pound shark or whatever the fuck it is. And yeah, not going to happen. And so they like run away from it. And as he's like, jump out the window. And she's like about to jump out the window. And we see like all the other little baby fishes are walking and running out right outside her window. And all of these things smell like death. So she's like, ew, everything's ew. I'm like, oh my God, woman, there's a shark in our fucking room. I'm going to need you to run. Maybe plug your nose while you run if it's such a big deal or whatever. But like, I'm about to get eaten by a shark. If you could hurry the fuck up, please. And so, basically, this is where you have the massive migration of all these fish with legs start coming out of the water. We're talking, and not just fish, stingray.
I love how creative he did all these different sea creatures with the similar thing with the legs.
Squid, everything.
The hammerhead shark.
Yeah, I mean, they start running through the whole village and town and everything. So, like, other sharks are now attacking the police. And, I mean, the whole city is overrun. It kind of reminded me of, I don't know if it's in Australia or New Zealand or whatever, or, like, one of those islands, New Guinea or something, where they have that season where the coconut crabs migrate or whatever, and it's just crabs everywhere walking through the middle of the streets, and you can't run them over or whatever because they're like all over the place and you can't really walk. And also they like
they'll pinch you.
Yeah, they'll break your fucking leg or whatever if they get a hold of you with their one claw, because they can break coconuts or whatever. Right. So some of them are quite dangerous if they're large enough, I think. And so, it reminded me of that. Where like, except these ones move fast. So like, it's like you thought slow zombies were scary. These are fast zombies, So it's like
this is 28 Days Later zombies.
Yeah, or like the new Dawn.
The new Dawn.
Yeah, and so, basically, these things are now like they're getting their revenge. And this fucking shark is, I mean, she ran pretty far away, but I don't know if they're in like an apartment now.
I think they went I think he went to another level of the house instead of going out the window. But the shark's like trying to come up the stairs with his gigantic legs. It's hard for him.
It's doing hard turns. We're like, oh, that shark would have broke its back if it did that, and it's not having a problem going up these small ass stairs.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Japanese code is for like buildings. I think they have smaller door openings than our 36 inches. So I could only imagine it's not. And also, like, I don't know. I mean, this might be a stereotype, but are a lot of these walls made of like paper and stuff, or
I'm
or
sure
not as insulated as like or like heavy duty built? I don't know, because I've seen a lot of Japanese construction and they don't look as like, oh, there's like studs and all this stuff inside of it as like American homes are. I don't know if that's just the ones I've seen. Just the ones I've seen. The ones I've seen on like YouTube where they're like, let's build a Japanese house or whatever. And like it's like a lot of it is more open and less like they have giant beams that support everything, but the inner walls are like just for like separating areas, not for like insulating or any of that stuff. So I don't know. But this shark is just fucking tearing ass through his house.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then the girlfriend's like, take care of it. Like, and that's why I was like, dude, this girl needs to shut the fuck up.
Just take care of the shark. How is it so hard?
I don't understand why you can't fight a great white that's walking on land. I mean, that's also the thing, right? Like, I would just be like, this fucking shark is walking on land. Never before happened.
Yeah, I probably would have been so stunned I would have been eaten by now.
Yes, I would have been dead for sure right now. But this shark would have killed him and them, except it just like happens to overshoot them or something and like just barely miss him, kind of thing. Like there's no reason why he shouldn't have died right here, but it ends up overshooting him and like jumping out of a window on accident, and then it falls to its death in quotation marks because it ain't dead. It comes back later, and it still smells him, I'm assuming, because it's still following him later on in the city. So, yes. But right now, he thinks it's dead. He's like, fuck, let's get out of here. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, do we have a flight to catch back to that other island? Like, let's get the fuck out of Okinawa or whatever. So, basically, they go to, I guess, back to another area. I don't know what the fuck, it shows them back in, like, another house. I don't know if it's another island where they actually travel back there, but it's just them. We see.
Yeah, they go back to Tokyo.
Okay, that's what. Okay, you're right. Yeah, so they just cut back to them in Tokyo. I thought they had like an actual section where they showed them go back or whatever, but it just says Tokyo, and then they're back at their house, and we're seeing now. The fish are moving to other parts of the island, other islands.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Closer and closer to Tokyo.
Yeah, and it's fun to see like the news is reporting. They're like all the local. We asked all the fishermen and all of the people to help, and it's like the Japanese defense force is gonna help as far as like mobilize and try to take these out. But it's weird because like we're shooting them and like nothing's really.
I mean, they're shooting. Okay. I don't know what gun laws are like in Japan, but I don't know what they're shooting this great white with, but it is not enough. All right? Like, they have, like, at max, like a shotgun for a great white shark that is walking on land and can move extremely fast. I mean, if you're not shooting it with an elephant gun or, like, I mean, at least bring something that would kill a rhino or an elephant or whatever. Like, that's the size of animal we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So I would not even try to approach this thing with a gun or anything. But yeah, basically everybody's now complaining about the smell. And then we also see that Kaori is not feeling well. She is got some kind of fever. She's sick. He's like, look, you're back in Tokyo. I'm sure it'll be fine. They're not going to follow us all the way here. And then what ends up happening is Tadashi's like, hey, I'm going to go visit my uncle. Give him the lowdown on what happened. I'm like, don't worry about it. And maybe he can come up with something that'll like either fix the issue or because he's like a scientist or something. So, or like give us a solution of some kind. So he tells his dad or his uncle about it, and his uncle, this is where we meet the other two characters. So his uncle is named Dr.
Koya.
or Koyanagi.
Nagi.
Yeah. So Koyanagi. Yeah. And then he had an assistant named Miss Yoshiyama, which John said Yoshimama once, and
I accidentally said Yoshimama. Yeah.
guaranteeing our listeners that I am going to say Yoshimama at least once in this on accident. So,
but her name
is
Yoshiyama.
Yoshiyama.
Okay.
So Yoshimama. But yeah, so he explains to his uncle like what happened. And then we left, like.
Yeah, he's like, sorry about your place. It's wrecked.
Yeah, it's totally fucked.
A shark was on land and he tried to eat us.
Broke everything in it.
And I love the uncle's like, what? Like, I don't even watch the news. Like, what are you talking about?
Everybody in this is very nonplussed. Like, they're like, cool. Like, I totally have no problem believing any of this or anything. And like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, what you're telling me, you wouldn't lie, right? It was just straight up. And so he tells the uncle, like, hey, this is the thing. And the uncle's like, well, why didn't you, like, bring a sample and I could, like, look at it? And he's like, I'm not going to how am I supposed to bring that on a plane or something? And he's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Okay, well, I guess I'll book a flight out there. I'll go myself.
Yeah, and so uncle goes, does this thing, and Tadashi comes back to see Kaori, and she's like, I can still smell it. It's getting stronger. So she just now she's like, we don't know if she's like actually smelling it because it's over here now, or
she's just freaking. She's having like PTSD from it now.
Yeah, we don't know. But or she's like the fever. She having like a fever dream or something. I don't know. She's sweating and it looks not good. So, and then she looks up.
But she ends up like she has a moment and she like runs out of the apartment.
Yeah,
and they run down the street and he catches her and they like. Okay, they breathe for a second, and then they look up, and this is like you said, like a little bit of comedy.
Yeah, that fucking bag.
There's a floating bag,
and it's like, I'm gonna get you. You thought you got away, you sons of bitches. And so it's chasing them. And at first you're like, maybe it's just a bag. And then they look and they see the shadow of the fucking crab legs. They're like, oh my god, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's that fucking thing. And then it pops, and then it falls, and then it's like totally gross. Like it falls and it hits the ground in front of them, and it's just completely rotted fish now. So it's not even like moving the same way or anything. It's just like now it's weird. It's like now that the body is completely decayed, and it's just like there's no way for it to hold gas because the sides of it have been ruptured and everything, and there's no muscles or anything like holding anything in. So. It's not. I mean, it's still moving, like trying to twitch,
the legs
but it's
are
not
twitching and kind of, but it's not.
But it's not running or anything. So then Tadashi's like, "Okay, I know what to do now. Take it to my uncle because he wanted a sample." So they take it there, and this is like, he opens it. And he's like, "Holy shit, that smells!" And then he takes it off, like the fish, right? And he finds out like what it is.
Yeah, I love that he has like PTSD a little too. He's like, oh, I know, I recognize this.
Oh yeah, that was fucked up too. He's like, oh, it's like dead body smell.
Yeah,
totally.
He's like, what? He's like, yeah. Do you know the smell of dead bodies, Tadashi?
Yeah. He's
well,
like,
I do.
No, I don't, Uncle. But yeah, so he gives it to the uncle to like work on. Then they're like, okay, let's go back. He's gonna work on it. Now he'll find some way to like fix this because he's a scientist.
He's a scientist.
Once again, horror logic. I'm fine with this horror movie logic.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I was into it. By this time, I'm like Great White running through the city.
Yeah, I
am into this fucking book. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you were a kid and watched Shark Week as much as I did, but I was into that shit. So, Jaws, one of my favorite movies as a child.
You know, it made me think of the movie The Faculty, where they like find the creature and then they bring it to the high school science teacher, and he's like
Jon Stewart.
He's like, put it in this tank, and we're gonna, we'll call somebody, but we're gonna run experiments on it first. And he's like, puts his hand in there, all like, oh look, it's back to life. Let's touch it and do stuff with it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Sure, that makes sense.
And so they go back to their apartment. Okay, it's fine. And he's like, look, nothing's here. It was just that one, and there's no other ones. Like, you're just freaking out. And
she's like, no.
Don't patronize me. Like, I know I can smell it. I know they're here. I'm sure they're in our room. He's like, look, let me show you. And he like starts opening all the cabinets and all this stuff. And something runs out, and she's like, and it looks like a little fish. But then he hits it with a shoe, and he picks up the shoe, and it's a cockroach. And it's a big cockroach too. I was like, oh, those are those tropical like Japanese cockroaches or something. But yeah, so
And he's like, it's gonna be okay.
yeah, it's fine. It's just you're just freaking out
Until they go to sleep, and he's like, huh, well, I smell it now a little bit too.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know. What does that smell? So then we cut back to the uncle who's looking at this thing. He like washes the fish, the old rotted fish off, and this is where we actually get the first look at this thing. We find out it's not part of the fish. It's not like a tumor. It's actually something that has legs. It's got a couple like pipe looking
tubular things
coming out of it. And then there's like a Venus flytrap-ish mouth on the top of it. And the uncle's like, huh, that's weird. Let me poke it with my finger or whatever. And he sticks his hand in the Venus flytrap area, and it like grabs onto his arm. And then he's like, what the fuck? And it like snaps onto his arm. He starts calling for his
Yoshiyama.
assistant. Yeah, Mrs. Yoshiyama. And he looks like he's in fucking pain. Like pain. Like extreme pain.
His
like,
face, I love the way his face is drawn. Like it looks almost like ghostly skeleton.
Yeah, at first he's just like, Miss Yoshiyama, something's wrong or whatever. And then he's like, like his face looks like he's fucking feeling it, right?
Yeah.
And then we just hear like, and then it cuts away. We're like, whoa, what happened there? So then we see in the news, they're talking about
it's spreading to mainland Japan.
Yeah. So now Tadashi and Kiori are looking at this, and they're looking at the news, and they're seeing, holy shit, now it's on mainland Japan or whatever. Like, this is fucked up. So then they get a call from Miss Yoshiyama, and she's like, you have to come right now. Something happened. You have to come right now. So they go there, and like, Kiori's freaking out. Like, I don't want to see that thing. Like, I don't want to, whatever he's going to tell us about, I don't want to see it. And they're like, no, it's not that. It's something else. But you just have to come. And then they go in and, like, basically, like, he brings up where he smelled this thing before. You don't see exactly why, like, what we see later, but it's weird. He's like, he's sitting at a table. His
legs crossed.
His legs are crossed. His arm, one of his arms, the arm that had the thing clamped on it,
it's hidden under.
It's hidden. Table. He's acting very chill, so not like he's got something clamped on his arm. And then he's like, after like I thought about it, I know where that smell came from, and what it's from. And he's like, he goes into this whole fucking. Now this is where
it starts to get.
It starts to get a little weird, and this is what. I was telling John about this. This is like the difference between manga stories and like American comic stories. So like American comics might just be fine like with the first part of this or this part where it's like, oh, there's deadly fish coming out of the water with legs growing on them. And then like this part, which, possibly would have been in an American comic where it's like, okay, actually it's a government... Like, this is like a government conspiracy, right? But then this comic goes, like, way above and beyond. We'll hit the weirder parts later, but it goes, like, so much more past this that I was like, wow, like, I did not see any of this coming. But that's I was telling John, like, manga does this thing where they, like, instead of it being like, oh, yeah, it's, an alien species that crash landed and the government found it and made it a weapon. Manga's like, and also, it's connected to the birth of, some god deity, and that is actually an evil spirit that is now possessed. Like, it's like, wait. Like,
it's all these extra layers.
Yeah, all these extra layers that don't. I'm not gonna say they don't need to be there because it makes it like way interesting, but it's also like, okay, like this is way more levels than I thought we were going to have on this story.
Well, that's why I was saying, Matt and I were making a joke, and I was like, that makes sense because you think about like a lot of our movies and Indian horror movies too. Like, it's like one thing, two thing, three thing, maybe, and that's done.
Maybe three, but max.
But
three.
they've already been making all this stuff, and from everything with technology to this, and it's like now we already have the basic stuff. It's like that's why like their phones are always like they were on like whatever iPhone now like 3-4 years ago.
Oh,
that technology.
They're so far ahead of us.
All the like the food in particular, like we get these like, oh, these new cool like a micro chicken or something, something, and it's like, oh no, they've had that for like 3 years. They were like testing and seeing how cool it is
3 years ago.
and then
well, and then the other thing is like, if you look at something like Akira, like that was like, what the fuck in 1980 or like 85 or whenever that came out. So like that was way far ahead. So you can only imagine like they just have to push the boundaries, and to push the boundaries you have to add like these different layers on it. That's what it feels like, at least. So the good storytelling and everything is just different than what I'm used to in American comics, where there's just like maybe 1 or 2 levels of depth or whatever on this storyline, especially for a horror comic.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking horror comics are usually like it's the devil, or it's a bad guy with a knife, or his mom saw him die in a pool, and then she killed the camp counselor that saw him drown. Or,
the 30 Days of Night was like,
yes,
it's like there's 30 Days of Night there, so the vampires come. And how do you defeat the vampires? Oh, you got one of them has to become a vampire, and then that's it.
Yeah. That was
there wasn't much.
The groundbreaking thing was, I'm going to become a vampire to kill the vampires.
Yeah.
Other than that, this is pretty straightforward. So, and that was considered like, what the fuck? Like, so this is like, at this point, we've just seen like, I mean, my mind was already blown at, land great white shark.
Yeah.
So this is where we get the levels starting to increase on storytelling. So the uncle's like, okay, my grandpa or my dad told me about, the Japan Imperial Army in World War II produced this germ as like germ warfare, and they would give it to dogs, and it would like mutate them so that they produce a shit ton of gas. And this is also where you see a little comedy in their weird fucking, I don't know, like this dog. They show this dog, and it's like on a table. You're supposed to feel like, oh my god, they're like doing horrific,
experimenting on dogs.
Yeah, but this dog has, and then he's showing gas like coming out of its mouth, like he's burping. He's also showing gas coming out of his asshole. So like, this dog is farting up a storm, and it's kind of funny. All right, I don't know how else to put it, but they're like, oh my god, we can use this. They said it smelled like rotting flesh, so they would release the animals onto battlefields, and they would just fart and burp all over the place, and that would make the people sick, like the Americans that were attacking sick.
Like, if you, for close quarter stuff, they were saying it would work well, and it's funny, the panel they show like all these little dogs and cats like just running burping and farting.
Yeah, running through a battlefield. All kinds of dogs too, like fucking Great Danes and like just Beethovens or whatever.
To little chihuahuas.
Yeah. And then like they're like, but the problem was the dogs would end up like getting paralyzed, or the animals would get paralyzed after a time. They just like sitting on the battlefield farting. They wouldn't like continue running, and So then they were like, well, we got to build these like machines that we just like put them inside, kind of like little tanks with legs, and then they run off the gas of the dog. So I guess the animals would like fart inside of it and burp inside of it, and then the gas would like pump the legs forward, and would also use the gas to spread the gas all over the place or whatever.
Yeah.
Therefore making it stinky. And so then they were going to transfer these battle stink dogs or whatever across the
stink
Pacific. Yeah. We need to make a comic. Stink tank dogs. And so, I want to know that he needs to make a prequel to this just about the dogs, from the dog's point of view, about like farting up a storm and all this stuff. So,
like We Three?
It'd be like We Three, or like Plague Dogs or something. Like super fucked up animations about, like those weird animations about animals, and like, what's that? Once Upon a Time in the Forest, or those kind of things that came out like in the late 80s or 90s. Yeah. And just like all about like how horrible humans are to animals. So it's like one of those, but like about the dogs farting on the battlefield. But anyway, so then they were like transporting these dogs across like all the islands and everything in the Pacific, and it was bombed, where the carrier that had this, and it went down, and then that was like the last they heard of it. And they're like, wow, that's weird. I wonder what happened to that stuff or whatever. So then in the middle of that story, Kaori is like, "Oh, excuse me, I have to use the restroom. Where's your bathroom?" And then she goes in there, and then I don't know why no one else noticed this, but she's got fucking boils all over her face that just like started to appear while he's telling the story. And she comes out, and she sees, or she smells something first, just like always. Then she hears like, tuk, 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 tuk. She's like, "Oh my God, it's one of those things." And then she like falls down, passes out again, screams and everything. And then we see this thing like stalking down the hallway. And then we find out what it is. We're waiting for the fish, and it is not a fish. It is the gross, bloated arm of the uncle.
Yes.
So he cut off his fucking arm. There's tubes all over the place, and it's covered in boils. So you're like, oh.
We know where this is going.
Yeah, his arm's covered in boils. She had boils. She's infected, but without one of these things on her or whatever. So maybe the gas or when, I don't know. So somehow she's infected. So, and it's just super fucked up. And then like the uncle's just like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's my arm.
Yeah, I cut off my arm.
Yeah, it's my pet now." Like this is like some fucking, I don't know, weird shit. He like he just holds out his arm and you just see like his sleeve limp in where like his arm used to be, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like this would be information you should have told us like before we showed up at
as
your
soon as we,
house. Yeah. And also, why is it like out and about? Like, you know, why? Like you don't just let it run around now, like Uncle Thing or whatever, like the
thing,
yeah, the thing from the Addams Family. We'll call it Uncle Fester though, because that fucking thing is festering.
Because it's festering. It's bad.
But yeah, basically he did an in-depth research on this thing, and yeah. Basically, literally, when it grabs onto you, it starts like a decaying process that makes your body start decaying, creating gases. These tubes come out and start like implanting wherever there's holes on you. Like when he cut off his arm, that whole end fat area is covered with like one of the big tubes because that's like where the gas is going to come out, I guess, because that's the opening. And then wherever the boils are on his arms that are like open sores, it's like tubes into that. So it's like a weird alive thing, but it's like an organic machine.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
very cool idea, by the way.
It is, and they kind of explain a little more later about it, but I mean, we could kind of say it now since they're So like, it's that these apparently. That the sunken battleship, that these things
like
were
under the water, like because they were like in the ocean and they got like all the bacteria and things that were. When you got the dogs farting in the canister that are dead or whatever, and whatever organisms like were inside of them that caused that evolved.
Yeah, basically, and so now they're kind of like you said, like it's an organic, biomechanical like kind of creature thing that also is able to self reproduce,
right? And it turns like us humans and anything that's like alive into fuel.
Yep.
Like so it's gas, it's fuel, and
so the gas, like the gas is it also spreads these germs, and the germs are what causes you to get infected to have the gas.
And so that's where we find out, like, oh, she's infected, but not everybody's infected. It looks like maybe the uncle's infected a little bit because he's starting to sweat and he's got like a weird, like the way he draws him after this, you're like he's either crazy or he's infected or something.
Yeah.
You know, like
he doesn't look well.
He does not look well. He looks pale. And his eyes are all sunken in and everything, and yeah. So, but he did just cut off his arm, so you know that could also be it. But yeah. So basically, like it's downhill from here for Kaori. At this point, like it's been a couple hours. He's like letting her rest in the room, and Tadashi goes into her room, and he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" Because he can smell it really bad coming from her room. And then, like, she's under the covers, and he moves the covers. And he's like, "Are there creatures in this room?" And then, like, she's like, "No, get out. It's fine." And then, like, he looks at her as he pulls the covers off, and she is covered with fucking boils.
And
like,
her body is just bloated.
Yeah. It looks it's like a fucked up version of that girl who eats the blueberry gum or whatever in Willy Wonka.
From
or
Willy
some
Wonka,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah. Like she just
Violet, you're turning violet.
Yeah, well, you're turning boily.
You're turning
or whatever.
boily.
So yeah, she's like burping all over the place, smelling, making it smell in there. And she's like, "Let me see myself. I need to see what I look like." Because he's like, "Oh my good God!" And she's like, "What? What's wrong?" Like, and I'm like, I think at this point I would know something was horribly wrong with my fucking face. But she's
I'm
like,
burping
I gotta see
and
myself.
farting.
Yeah, yeah. That's the other thing. They show her like literally, like. Once again, I don't know if this was comedy or if it was just supposed to. Like he thinks it's horrific, but it's kind of funny. Just like the dog in the experiments, he just shows the way he draws the farts coming out of people. It's just funny looking. All right, like
yeah, it's like a perfect like an outward stream out of both ends.
Oh yeah, of gas. Yeah. So, then like so she's farting and burping, and she's like, "Oh my God, get out of here! Don't look at me, I'm a monster.
I'm hideous." Yeah,
which she is. She's very, very terrifyingly looking in this. Like I would not want. She looks like.
She looks like the from the Left 4 Dead games. She looks like one of the blobby.
She looks like Brendel-Fly, dude. She does look like
Brendel-Fly. That's true. That's like, a good.
When his skin's about to peel off or whatever. Yeah,
that's a good. Yeah.
And so yeah, he's got all these fucking boils, and
she has all these boils.
But he did, and now like she's got these now, and yeah, that is creepy as fuck. So then we get like the next chapter starts. We see everything is overrun. All of Japan's overrun. Fucking sharks and everything's
all these sea creatures.
We get like one of the coolest creatures that comes out is like this whale, like starts breaching the water on the beach, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" And it's like a big blue whale.
Yeah.
So one of these machines was made itself big enough to harness a blue whale and like lift it up and bring it to the beach, and then as it's like coming out, it's like trying to lift this whale up, and then you see its legs buckle and it breaks and it just like can't move anywhere. So like basically it can't, it like even this whale is so big it's like not allowed, it's not made for something that big, I guess. But yeah, it's trying, but it's stuck on the beach now. And so that was kind of cool to see like this giant ass blue whale. Which I don't even think it looks like a baby blue whale because like there's a van next to it and it doesn't look that big.
No, I don't think that's a blue whale. That's the like the Moby Dick style whale. The
was it a sperm whale?
Sperm whale, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know my whales.
Well, no, that's I was looking at it and I was like again, and I was like, no, I think that's Is that my good man is a sperm whale. I am a whale enthusiast.
John's a big fan of sperm whales.
I like whales. Okay,
sperm whales. And so anyway, whale. It can't even hold up a bitch ass sperm whale. All right, it's not even that.
Not even a blue whale.
Yeah, not even a blue whale. So anyway, the whole city's overrun. Like people are running, they're freaking the fuck out. Everybody's either getting infected or getting pinched by these things in places, and then they're getting like, taken over by them and shit. So, Kaori's like, I'm gonna kill myself, and Tadashi's like, no, you can't do it, and she like tries to kill herself.
And I like her because I thought this conversation was fun because it comes back technically here because she's like, I'm so hideous and whatnot, but don't you lie to me. You would leave me, right? You would go find a prettier woman if I say like this, right? And he's like, what are you talking about? No,
you look great. And I'm like, no.
And she's like, please don't leave me. Don't leave me. You probably would like go for your uncle's lab assistant or something. And he's like,
where did that come from?
Yeah, he's like, calm down, like.
But yes, I would because you look fucking hideous. And so, she she also looks like oh man, what is that? I don't know. There's like the mom from I think it's either Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Hills Have Eyes, where it's like, oh my,
oh yeah,
like whatever the fuck, just giant, gas bloated, crazy looking fucking lady. So, and she's just like some crazy jealous girlfriend too right now, which is even more.
Which
weird.
is it's obviously. Everything's going crazy.
Yeah, so he's like, "Oh my god, like let me call my uncle and see what's going on." And she's, he's like, "I don't know, bring her here. Maybe we can help her out or something." So, he's like, he goes to get her after he calls his uncle, and he hears something coming out of her room. She's not answering her name, and He opens the door to her room, and she like had tried to kill herself. She tried to hang herself by like, I don't know if it's a ceiling fan or if it's the light. I think it's just a light.
I think it's just the light, yeah.
But this is another, comedy moment. I'm assuming.
Yeah, she wrapped it around her neck and she's hanging there, but
she's farting
because she's full of gas. Yeah. She's like going
so
in
she's
circles.
pushing herself with her farts around the room in like a tetherball kind of.
Yeah, basically. That's a good
and because of that, her the electrical cord snaps because it like weakens because she's moving it so much with her gases.
Yeah.
And then and so she falls and he's like, fuck, I'm just gonna like take you to my uncle's or like get an ambulance or something. I gotta get help. So he like throws her on his back and he just like runs outside. Like we said, everything is now like crazy. There are no like services or help or anything.
Now there's people dead in the street that have been trampled by the things because they've got like fucking stabby holes in them from like the fucking crab legs.
Yes.
And then there's like you see like fish and sea creatures all around just like running around like crazy.
Yeah. And also he's walking and we see like a little shadow of a fucking like a fucking fin come out behind a car, and all of a sudden it's like, remember me, bitch?
Surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah. Oh yeah! And so like this fucking great white shark that we thought was dead, maybe it's another one. I don't know. Maybe it's his brother.
I will avenge my brother.
Yeah. Starts chasing him with her on his back, and at this point I'd be like, sorry, bitch, you're dead.
I throw to the shark and keep
exactly.
running.
Keep running. So, but he's a straight arrow. He's like, no, hang on, we can do this together. And this thing is like behind him.
This is the kind of woman or man that all women want, and that we obviously could not be. But somehow we still were able to get married.
Exactly. Well, I don't know about you. I mean, I'm like this guy for sure.
Well, I mean, of course I would save my wife too. What
sure.
are you talking about?
John, just admitting to throw your wife to a great white. Wow, okay.
She has told me many times that
if anything, Sarah would be running with you on her back.
That's probably true.
But yeah, so
quick, I have to say real fast, just a quick side story specifically about my wife, because we've talked about like visiting like animal sanctuaries or like rehabilitation centers especially for dumb people that take pets that they shouldn't have, or take animals they shouldn't have for pets. And she was like, well, maybe we could go to one of the big cat ones, not like Tiger King or anything, like one of the like actual established ones.
What's wrong with Tiger
King? And I was like, I think that's too much for me. Like I would go and they would smell my fear a little, and then I would be done. And she's like, I would be lucky enough to die that way. I would just put my face in their face and like just rub like, it's okay, you can eat me. And I'm like, okay,
people
sure,
say
honey.
that until it fucking bites on.
Until it mauls your face.
Kill this fucking cat. Get your gun.
She's like, no, it's okay. It would be a good way to go. I was like, okay, honey.
All right. Well,
that's why you can go with your sisters. I'm just one of those. I'll stay outside.
I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. So.
I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully I'll see you when you're done.
We've all seen that video of that that family that was in like one of those parks. And like the mother-in-law gets out of the car and like was arguing or something, and then that fucking tiger's like, "Gotcha, bitch!" and then like pulls her away, and then the husband's like, "Do I go get her? I mean, she was just yelling at me, or no? It's mother-in-law, so." I mean, like, I guess I have to go get it. And he like kind of half runs after her. It's like, oh, she's gone.
Also, what are you gonna do against the tiger?
I don't know, but die from another tiger.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. So he's gonna drop her and then come to you. He's like, well, she's already dead. I can eat her later. Yeah. Or his friend's gonna jump out at you. So.
Yeah, I don't want to be there. So yeah, I would not follow. Your wife is trying. Do you have life insurance, John?
We do.
Okay, that makes sense. Don't fall for it. I've seen these movies before. So anyway,
we would save our wife.
There's this whole yes, we would. Of course, we would for the insurance. Wait, what? I don't know if you can pay out insurance if there's like a plague of gas. Monsters that takes over the world.
Yeah, are they going to cover land shark walking?
I don't think so. That's not in my.
They'd be like, I'm sorry, that's not part of your policy.
Yeah, it's not covered. Land sharks are not covered. But yeah, so anyway, this great white fucking chases him all over town. He does a fan-fucking-tastic job.
He's really good at evading. He's like, parkour.
I mean, we're talking jumping over cars.
Parkour.
Yeah, parkour. All hard, parkour, hardcore. All right? This dude deserves a goddamn medal. For best boyfriend ever or whatever. For even a girl who apparently hasn't even kissed him barely. So
yeah,
I don't know. So this thing almost gets him, but he finally makes it to his uncle's, fenced in house. And I'm surprised this fucking fence stops a great white. But basically, he jumps the fence. The great white barely misses him, and then the great white's like, "Oh, there's a fence."
I guess.
Yeah.
It's like a shark cage, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll get you next time.
Yeah, he's like, ah.
I'll be outside his gate whenever you want to come out.
I'll be watching. Yeah. So anyway, they go to this uncle's house, and the uncle's like, "Oh yeah, like, why don't you leave her with me, and like I will take care of her. You go get help or whatever. See what's out there or whatever." So, Tadashi goes, and he's looking around town. He sees like there's no help. There's military people or like police. They're just shooting these fucking things. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, he's like trying to. You see, he's kind of like shows a couple of panels of him like avoiding the great white, like trying to hide from it.
And he was,
what was that?
Yeah, and then he gets attacked by a giant squid.
Yeah,
as you do.
And he's like, "Hey, come here, boy!" And he he wraps his tentacles around him. Yeah. But then at this part, this is where I kind of was trying to, because like he drags him away, and then he's like up higher up on like a. I thought it was a building, but I think it's a runoff for like water stuff. It's like a collection area, and one of the tentacles.
I don't know if that's what that is, because it looks like a chemical factory or something.
Okay.
A refinery of some sort, maybe.
Maybe I just wherever he falls, it looked like it was like. Because there were like some tubes that go in.
It could have just been like the runoff area around it for water or whatever. But like, anyway, like, yeah, basically he was about to get fucking murdered by this squid, and the squid's running with him, dragging Tadashi around. And luckily that squid's got some bitch ass little tentacles, because he gets caught on a wall, and then the tentacle snaps, and then he falls over the wall.
I didn't know if it was that or maybe the decay.
That might be it too, but still.
But still, either way, he gets away.
Either way. And that was the other thing. I was willing to overlook this, but obviously, if these things are dead.
How's the shark chasing?
Yeah, how's that shark? Well, not how the shark chasing him, but how's it like? Why does it care to eat? Or why does the squid's legs move? You know what I'm saying? Like I get like the gases are making the legs run and shit, and then maybe that thing's sentient. But how is it controlling the nervous system of the...
Yeah, I'm bet straight making the shark be like, I want to eat these people.
Exactly. So he falls into like, we'll say it's a retention pond, basically, for water or something. And he falls in, and there's just all these fucking gross little fish and cockroaches and other bugs and shit in here that are all, what's it called? Turned or whatever. Like they've got little legs and stuff, and he's freaking the fuck out. He's like, and he can't get out. I mean, there's no way out of this thing. He just basically gives in and falls in there, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm dead." And so it's pretty. To have no ladder or anything in there is pretty unsafe. That's not code, right? There's no ocean. There's no ocean in Japan already. So, but yeah, so he's just chilling there, and then he has some kind of vision, and this is where the third layer, kind of comes in a little bit, where we see. He starts seeing all this gas kind of coming out of this pit, because he's sitting in a pit of decaying baby fish and bugs and all this stuff. So, and they're just trapped too. So like he's just sitting in there like, I don't know, chilling. I don't know what that feels like. Maybe it's really relaxing. Maybe it's like a float spa,
a little massage,
like a float tank.
Float tank
with like a moving bed underneath you. So squirming.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, he starts seeing like he sees the gas, and then the gas starts like forming. It's kind of like when you look at the clouds in the sky. He starts seeing things in the gas, and basically he starts seeing like his faces.
Fucking faces.
And like skeleton.
Like creepy faces.
Things. Yeah. And then basically he's like, what? They look like ghosts. The professor said the germ was developed by the Japanese army during the war. So is the gas made up of the spirits of the dead? Whoa. Did we just... What? How did you make that jump? Well, how does... The professor said the germ was developed by the Japanese army during the war, ... So the gas is made up of the spirits of the dead. That is a giant jump that I don't understand how this guy, Tadashi, is a smart motherfucker, apparently. But, so... We've added another layer of these. The gas is not just fart gas. It is
It's
actually
spirit fart
the
gas.
spirits of the dead of everybody the gas has killed, potentially. So, because we know this, because we see the arm, like the gas starts to reach for his arm and pull him out of this pit. And one of the main arms that is reaching for him is
Looks like Kaori.
Kaori. And then
He's like, He's like, you're beautiful again.
he's like, you're beautiful, like white gaseous Kaori. And then he wakes up and he's in a hospital.
Yeah, and so then this is like, so like, was this like a fever dream?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
only because we've seen a little bit of that, because like when she saw the fish earlier, when she thought she saw the fish, but it was a little cockroach. So there's been a tiny hints of that. Maybe there's a little bit of that.
Yeah. And so he's up, or he was in the hospital. He wakes up. He's like, oh my God, where am I? They're like, you're in the hospital. And it seems like because there's nurses in the hospital and stuff, and he's in the hospital, maybe it's a little different than where he was before.
I think, well, yeah.
You see, he's been out for a month.
A month.
So he was out for a month. They're like, oh yeah, a lot of those fish went back to the sea. We started, like, the military came and started kicking ass or whatever, taking names. So then we see like a fucking tank chasing down like a marlin, and the marlin's like, bah! Like, and the tank's like it's like shooting at it or whatever. And so basically it's kind of like martial law or whatever, has been going on.
Yeah, because they're still fighting them, but I guess they're on the upswing. Maybe.
Yeah, they're beating these fucking, it kind of reminds me of like because it's kind of like insects taking over. It's kind of like Starship Troopers or some shit too. Where like, the bug has taken over or whatever. Like,
I've seen the creatures, but I've still never seen that movie.
Oh,
I've seen like clips, but I've never
movie
seen
night. We'll hit it. But yeah, so he goes back to his uncle's spot and he's like, "Oh my God, I want to see her. Is she okay?" He's like, I mean,
now she gone.
Yeah, she's gone. And then like he stays there. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe she's dead," or whatever. And then Miss Yoshiyama comes in and is like, I can't bear it anymore. Like your uncle lied to you. She's not dead. She's in here.
Let me show you.
And so like she says specifically that she is still alive. Now I don't know if I would call that alive, but when he walks through this door, we see Uncle, in all his infinite science wisdom, has built a new body, a better body, a body that looks a lot like a more badass version, I guess, of
the old
machine,
grandpa design machines.
Yeah, the World War II machine.
And I made a better version.
He's going to call it the eye, whatever of it, the eye legs.
The eye leg.
It's the Mac version of, it's the sleek aluminum or whatever.
That's true. Yeah. Like all
the stainless steel version of this of these old battleship, metal organisms or whatever.
And it is like the main part of it's real sleek, and it's got some like exhaust tubes for the gas, and it's got these horrible hoses.
So in this one, these ones, or this one has a lot more. Like it's more graphic than the other ones were. At least it shows Kaori, and that maybe because it's Kaori and we know her, so it's supposed to be more graphic. But there's two hoses shoved in her mouth, and then there's one shoved in her butt, and then. I mean, and it fucking it doesn't hide anything. Like
no, it shows her.
It looks like she's a turkey on a platter, like she's doing like turtle shell yoga pose or something.
Yeah,
and then
there's like straps over the top of her,
holding her back down, and then there's a tube in her butt, and there's two tubes in her mouth, and you're like, Jesus Christ,
it's terrifying.
It's terrifying. There's one of the most fucked up images I've ever seen. And and then as he's like, what the fuck, his uncle walks in and is like, who gave you permission to be in here? How dare you walk into my laboratory? And he's like, oh, you weren't supposed to see this, but I made her better. Like, I made a better machine for her. It's fine. And so she's actually got an on and off button now and stuff. And so he turns her on, and then he's like, look at this. And he explains, like, basically, he, like, took the design and made it better and made it, bigger, stronger, faster, whatever.
I built it to prove my theory that this body could be used as a fuel source.
Yeah. So Uncle's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, he's the evil scientist. But as he turns it on, Kaori's like, "Ma, fuck you," and just like stabs him with one of her legs, stabs the uncle, and then like runs away. So the uncle's like, "Oh my god," stabs him. I don't know, in the torso. I don't know. It kind of looks like the top of the stomach area, but it could be like a lung or something too. But
it didn't look good. But she was like, "Fuck this shit, I'm out."
And she runs out, and then Tadashi like runs after her, and so like we said, the street is still full of things. Not as full, like there's just dead, rotting stuff, but there's still wandering, human or fishless organic machines walking around with their Venus flytraps out, waiting for someone to like get close enough for it to snatch them. And like, so he's walking and he sees this guy who's like, I don't feel so, like, he's like, hey, did you see a girl walk through here with like a machine that didn't look like, it's kind of like the ones that you saw, but newer? And the guy's like, I think she went that way. And then like, as he's talking, he like falls and stumbles into one of these fucking machines. And like, then like you see like, oh man. Yeah. You just see at night, like, apparently these fucking things come out and there's just all these humans that like are wrapped up being held by these like Venus flytraps. They look like little baked hams or whatever.
Yeah, it's horrible. He goes down the street and he thinks he falls upon her, but it's not. It's like
another one.
It's like the first
old
human
school ones,
but in the more organic, the organic ones from the ocean. But they're they're little bigger ones now,
and they're all human. They're all for humans, not for fish anymore. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess they like make new ones of themselves that are for whatever prey they're.
I guess so. Yeah, it said that they were like they're basically able to create or re-improve themselves.
Yeah, because we see later on, also in the street, they like combine. So there would be like a giant one, kind of like the one that had the whale, but then there will be like 20 little ones that all the people are still on them, and then now this big one has tubes going to all of those ones as well. It's just like it's fucking mass of horrible.
It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, body, horror or whatever. It's fucking crazy. And so, he's still looking for Kaori. He's going through the city.
I love we actually see someone like graphically fall on one. This is again where we see like some graphic stuff because someone falls on one, and then like you just see the tubes go out and into his mouth and his butt, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Yes. And it's just like, well. That guy. I mean, he was already dead because he was infected or whatever.
Yeah, but
and this is another thing. Tadashi, like, he walks and he steps on one of these things. So it's kind of like the gas is everywhere, right? So it's kind of like fog, like spirity looking fog or whatever. And so he accidentally steps on one of these things. It clamps on his foot, and he like is able to pry it off, but it cuts his feet. And so, like, he's been cut a couple times by these things.
Got stabbed in his hand early.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have any issue with these things. And then we see, like, the army shows up, and they're, like, coming at him. Or not coming at him, but coming at some of these things, just, like, shooting them. And that's allowing them to burst so they can't hold the gas. And then that, like, releases. That basically makes them unable to run and all this stuff. So that's kind of how they're dealing with these things or whatever. But then, like I said, that's where we see some of these like giant mass humans that are like piled up on this big, like 14 humans piled up on a big one of these things.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like the only way the government can do anything is just shoot it, right? So, and then like we said, like the gas is like literally will come alive sometimes and just grab people and throw it on the pile. And so it's kind of like the gas is, like we said, it's this organism, but it's also a spirits of people or something. I don't fucking know exactly, but it's like that level, right? So, so yeah. And then he's walking and he hears like, burp, 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 burp.
Yeah, this is where it gets even weirder.
What is this? And then we get to this chapter called The Death Stench Circus. So, I guess we taught Japan well after World War II, but we taught them how to capitalize, right? We taught them about capitalism because apparently in all this horror and body horror, someone that owned a circus was like, hey, I got an idea. I have found like I don't know if he was playing what song he was playing or something. He found a frequency, a tune, that these things will like move to. It's like whatever its frequency of the spirit realm or something. But like he basically found this tune, and he has people that are full of gas with like propped up with like flutes in their mouth, and it's like boo, boo, like and they're playing this song that's like boo, 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 whatever. I'm just doing like circus music or whatever.
But whatever the song is, but it's very much. It makes me think of like the scene in Snow White where the air is like pushing through the pipes and whatnot.
Yes,
and it's like, but it's like so they're sitting there. The instruments are pushed up to the lips and stuff, and so the gas is just happens to be blowing at the right octave or whatever for those, and they have their hands in just the right spots.
Right. And so and then we see like literally there's an elephant on one of these things walking around, and they're all walking in circles, and there's people on them, and they're doing acrobatics on tight ropes and shit. And there's one guy who's like, that's pretty good, guys. Good job practicing for today. Like, and he's obviously infected because he looks all weird.
It's so weird, but he's like the ringmaster or whatever. But
yeah, and he's like, oh, a visitor, and he's all crazy or some shit. I don't know why the government hasn't shot this fucker, but he looks like death. By the way, he looks like the Crypt Keeper. Or something.
Yes,
he looks like. Oh, this is what he looks like. He looks like there's an episode of Buffy called Hush, where there's these guys called the Gentlemen, and they're like take away everybody's voice in the city, and so no one can talk, and they just go around and murder people, but they float, and they have like these fucking like creepy fucking faces.
I remember that one.
Oh, it's a good episode, but I think it's in season 4. Yeah, it's in season 4. It was like it happens at the beginning enough so that I was like, I don't like the season, and then that happened. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like, it was a good enough episode that I was like, okay, I'm down for this. But he looks like one of those.
He's terrifying,
like the gentleman in that thing, in the Buffy episode. And so he's like, check out this fucking awesome circus I made out of these things. Like, all you have to do is find like use the gas for yourself or whatever. And now I have a circus, and now people can pay to see these awesome things, like be in my circus. And so he's got all this, everything the circus has. He's got a cannonball man that's getting launched by some of this gas because he like figured out how to hook it up.
I thought he said he put people in the the drums.
Yeah, he put people in drums and then put the tubes in the cannon, and then the cannon shoots people out of it.
That's freaking
the
crazy.
Gas or whatever. Yeah. So there's just weird fucking. This is like I said. This is another level of this weird thing, and so basically he's freaked out by this. Like there's one scene where there's a fire breather, and he like breathes out the gas. I guess the gas is flammable because it's like methane-ish or something. But then like he blows it out, and then all these spirits like faces are on fire, and they look like they're in pain.
Yeah,
they kind of chase Tadashi a bit around, and then he's like, and wait for the spectacle of all spectacles. Look at this one I found, and he pulls it out, and it's Kaori. And so it's her and her new body, and she's not being very cooperative, so they have to like pull her out like it's a fucking elephant or like Dumbo's mom or some shit.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And like he's like, oh my god, and then Kaori, seeing him, is like starts freaking out. She is able to like stab the guys or whatever, like break away, and then and they're freaking out. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get infected because I got like shot I got stabbed, and now I'm shot with all this like she like shot like goop or whatever out of her like exhaust ports or some shit. So they got covered with like whatever goo, and so they're all worried they're gonna get infected, which is good for them. They should be. And then she runs away, and he's like, no, don't run away. Wait for me. And then he's like he jumps on her, pushes the button that like shuts her off. So he got her to stop. Then he brings her back. I don't know how the fuck he just like throws her over his shoulder. The machine,
he like drags her
back to the house.
I'll free you.
So that shark never showed up again. So
That's true.
I was like,
it's been a month, so that
true.
Shark probably gave up at that point finally, or he exploded from the gas finally.
Sure, probably. So he shows up, and then we see Miss Yoshiyama. Oh, wow.
You
almost said it. Yoshiyama answers the door, and she's like, she looks fucking beat. Like she's tired, maybe a little sick. And he's like, "Is my uncle here?" And she's like, "Well, he is, but he isn't." And then she breaks down in tears. And then we see that's like she's like, "We'll bring her in and like we'll try to get like the stuff out of her
She's
face."
like, he died from his
Yeah,
stabbing.
she basically said he died. And then like then she tries to like remove, like they're working on Kaori, and they're like, okay, well, let's remove the tubes and everything, because she seems to be alive. She's responding to like seeing him, even though she looks dead and her eyes are white, and she's on this machine or whatever. But so this is so fucking creepy. They start pulling the tubes out of her mouth. They even cut because the uncle sewed these tubes into her face, like into her mouth. So like they have to cut the stitching. Then they start to pull, and I guess her body is rotting, so it fucking pulls her fucking lips off of her face.
Yeah. Oh.
It starts to rip the skin off of her face. It's like, oh my god. Like,
hold on.
Let me staple that back on or whatever. Like, we'll take care of that later.
Well, super glue, everything's fine.
Yeah, and so they're like, I guess,
she didn't want to kiss you anyway, right?
Yeah, she is dead, I guess, because she's still there. But he's like, I want her to be free though. So like he's trying to break her out of there, and then they're like, well, like, what's that noise? And they hear like, dum, 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 dum. I'm like, what? And they're like, it's coming from lab 2. And he's like, lab 2?
Lab number 2?
And then like they go in there. He has to break into it because it's locked. And he looks up after he hears the noise. He looks up and he sees the fucking uncle is on like a giant fucking like upside. He's sleeping upside down, but his body is hooked to another one of these ones that he made. He looks more like a cockroach on this one, the way that his body is faced or whatever. And he has tied himself to like this machine that is part of a blimp. So his gases were filling up this blimp the whole time, and now it's ready to take off, and that's what that noise was. So the blimp comes out. It sees the Miss Yoshiyama and the nephew, and so I feel like the uncle's like, oh, I'm jealous because they're together or something.
I mean, well, it's been a month, so he doesn't know. I mean, they probably
yeah, they totally fucked, obviously.
Tell me.
They didn't, but like yeah, it was just like, huh. The doctor seems angry at seeing them together, and so it just starts shooting stuff at them, like from its like exhaust ports, and so then she even says like, oh, he must be jealous, like thinking that we were together or something, and they're like, that's ridiculous, like we were not together. And then he flies off.
Yeah, he tries to get in, but they get back in the building, and he's too big, obviously, so he flies off. But this is great because
Miss Yoshiyama is in his hands because he's like pushing her away from the window, and Kaori is looking at them, like just happens to be facing them, her dead eyes, and she sees him like kind of holding her slightly, not even like hugging her, just like arms on her arms, like his hands are like holding her supportively.
Yeah, like a supportive, like, but still a little bit away.
Yeah, like oh my god, we saw something horrible, but also we're not together and are not like on friendly terms or whatever. Like,
yeah.
So then she starts crying because she like tears literally come. Either it's tears or her eyes get melty or something. I don't know. But like,
I think it's tears.
Rotting, and so, but it seems like tears. And so she pulls out her hand. Keep in mind, she's fucking dead. So
no, that's what I'm saying. I don't think she is fully dead. And that's
I don't
why
know.
She got tears.
We saw her spirit earlier.
That's why. Yeah, but again, then he was in the hospital. Maybe it was a fever dream. There's a couple levels to this we don't know.
We don't know.
They leave a little bit of mystery to it.
It's part of the horror. So, she pulls her hand out of the strap, turns her machine on, and then is like, "You fucking bitch, I'm gonna kill you." And so she tries to like kill Miss Yoshiyama and goes after her and succeeds in chasing her down. And then, well, like she's chasing her down, and then like the uncle comes out of nowhere because he chases her out of the building and is like, "Haha, gotcha, bitch!" And like turns out he's the body he's made like it can clamp on both sides. So it's like a Venus flytrap on both sides, on the belly and the top. So it's got him on top, and it swoops down and picks her up from the bottom. And
now they'll be together forever.
They're together forever. Hoses in her butt and mouth, and then that's it. And then now he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that happened." And she kind of is running away, and then she just gets outside of like this compound, and she is automatically surrounded by all the old robots. So all these older versions, right? She's the new hotness, and these old and busted. Yeah, these old and busted. Other human robots they're built from like old sea ships and everything, and they just start fucking stabbing her to death. Just bah, 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 bah. And so that's pretty much, they just murder her in front of him, take her away, and never to be seen again. And then
this was funny. This again. The comedy element.
The comedy element, yeah.
They have more of the creatures pulling out that giant cannon from the circus.
Right. He's walking through the city yelling Kaori's name, trying to find her, even though like she was taken away and stabbed to death by all these other ones. And what does he see? He hears like some weird noise, and he's like, and then like we see this giant cannon, the cannon that was in the tent, being pulled by many of these machine people that are all like decaying and everything.
Honey baked ham people.
Exactly. And so then we see that shoots a body at the blimp and takes the blimp down.
It's like, get that other one up there.
Yeah, and the reason why the uncle was a blimp is because he was like, we're going to infect the rest of the world or whatever. Like, we're going to take on, like, I'm going to get back in America for what they did to us in WW2.
Back in WW2.
Yeah. And so he was like planning on, I guess, floating just across the ocean or whatever and taking the fight back to them. And so then I love this. He shoots down the blimp. Great shot for a dead guy, by the way. It just fucking hit that blimp, no problem. The blimp pops, but what happens? He's like, ha-ha, bat wings, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he pulls out his fucking Batman, the animated series bat wings that just happen to be under his cape or whatever, and he floats
Yeah, they
off.
like pop out, and he just keeps floating.
He just glides off. Then, we had seen people earlier that looked like the military was winning, but now he goes over this hill, and we just see just fucking an army, like a sea of these fucking giant robots that have like 40, 50, 100 people, all in them, powering them. So it looks like maybe they're not dead, or maybe they're not winning. And then while he's looking over the hill, he just happens to run into some other people, some actual humans who are like, oh my God, we're so happy we found another person. Did you know, like, they're not man-made? Basically, what it is, we kind of spoil what they are, because we thought they were man-made from the war earlier, but it wasn't the scientists that made them. It's there was the original machines that the scientists made, but like we said, the gas bacteria themselves mutated and became able to make machines. So they're like, organic machines or whatever.
Gas synthesized with the Rex and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And science stuff.
So he's been walking for a while trying to find Kaori, and he basically finally catches up with her. She's dead now. Like, her body is totally...
Yeah, she's definitely a carcass now on this machine.
And this machine you could tell it's just been like stabbed to death or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, we'll catch you up later. Like see ya, buddy. And so I don't know if these other guys are like scientists or whatever.
I think, they sound like they're scientists, because one guy said they're from the university or something.
Maybe they're students or something.
I think they're like, come with us, and like, maybe you seem like maybe you're immune. We can help, we can basically help save the world. And he's like, yeah, I'll catch up with you later. And then I love this. He sits down on the ground, like puts his hand on her, and it's like, you don't smell anymore.
Yeah, you don't smell
anymore. You don't have to smell anymore.
It's fine. You're free from the smell. And that's the end. I was like, wow, that's not how I thought it was going to end. Just,
No happy ending.
Yeah, the uncle got away, flew away with his bat wings or whatever. So, like, his gliding. So I don't think he made it to America, but,
He
glided
definitely
for a bit.
gliding for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And we don't.
what a fucking story! And you said there's an anime of this too, or something?
I happened to take a gander after the fact, and yeah, apparently there is a. I think there's an actual animated version of this, so I definitely want to check it out now.
I do too. I want to see what
the shark scenes specifically.
Yes, we need to watch it. So, but on that note, John, what did you think of this?
For my first like real manga, like it was really cool. I love the horror element. I totally am down to read some more things like this.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think that manga would be just as cool as some of the anime I've seen. So, because I've seen some weird horror anime. There's one that's called Elfen Lied or Laid, and this girl has like these. She's like worked on in a lab, and then this spirit takes over her, and she's got like these ghost arms that pop out that nobody else can see, but they pop out and they can like murder people. It's really cool.
Sweet.
But yeah, so again, just some crazy weird horror stuff, and yeah, this was awesome. I loved it. It was a great story. I totally would be down if there was more of this. I know you said that there's a couple more.
He's got 3 other books that are they look the same. I think they're just separate horror stories.
Well, his art is fantastic too. So
oh my god, I don't know how
so
long
creepy.
it took him to do this, but it is super detail, super creative. I mean, it's very, very like you can tell it's him instantly. Like
yeah,
that's one of the things I noticed about him because I never read his stuff either. I would just see passing by on the bookshelf. I'd be like, "Who's that guy?" Because his stuff looks so different. Like,
this is Junji Ito.
Yeah, Junji Ito.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. And like seriously, like the super detailed work, like it is always pristine. And then if it's something that's a more like of a scenery scene, it may be like dashed or lined or penciled, but it's still so cool looking, and you know exactly what it is. It's really cool.
Yeah, it just he's a master of art and all this stuff. So a lot of those manga guys are like, I don't, their pace for a lot of the stuff, like a lot of their like manga stories are done. I think they're done like weekly. Like they do like sections weekly. Like each chapter in the mangas will be like, because usually like a manga, I think they're called takubans, which are like a trade. They have like 5 sections in them, right?
But how often do they come out?
I think weekly they put out
So they come out in like
fat phone book that are like how like we come out monthly with issues, right?
Yeah.
So I think they come out either monthly or bi-monthly or maybe weekly with these fat like newspaper, like really cheaply made newspaper phone books that are just stories and they have chapters every time in them or something like that. So
so it may not be like a single.
It's like an anthology.
It's an anthology of like
all the single issues.
Oh,
so they that's why like Dragon Ball or whatever will come out and it'll just be like one section in that whole phone book, and then the next one comes out, and then the next section.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like, if that's, I mean, that thing is 300 pages or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if this one came out like that because there's chapters in this, so maybe it did. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. This isn't a traditional like ongoing story, so I'm talking about the main like when you're talking about like Dragon Ball or those
Sailor
kind of
Moon or
they come out.
You go in the store and you see the shelf and there's like, oh, there's like 50 of these already.
Right, but on that, like I said, they come out. It's like they publish a big anthology every month or every week or whatever.
Yeah,
that's like cheaply made so that it doesn't cost that much, but you get 1,000 pages of different comics, 20 pages of each comic or whatever in there.
That's cool.
And each week it's the next version or the next part of that story.
That's cool, and you get several stories to read from different. Okay,
yeah, so that's cool. Which ones you want, and all of it's cheap or whatever. So
that's nice. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting model as far as like
it makes me think of like the Sunday Funnies where you have a bunch together in one, but sometimes those sometimes those do have connecting stories.
Right. Yes.
That's cool.
It's very much like that kind of thing.
Or maybe like the old school, like when we talked about Judge Dredd. You said
yes,
like some of those.
It's kind of like that. Like where in 2000 AD or heavy metal, it's an anthology, so you have 5 or 8 pages of this story, 8 pages of this story, 8 pages of this story, this character, this character, this character, and then next week you have the next 8 pages of
That's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, but with those, I think it was like next month or next 2 weeks or whatever. So, I'm pretty sure that these were weekly. I might be wrong if they were weekly, but
before our next manga, we'll make sure to have a little more.
Yeah. Or tell us. Why don't you guys tell us?
Yeah.
I don't like to do that much research. So, yeah, if you want to tell us, a lot more about manga, listeners out there, just tell us how they print. I know like Shonen Jump is like one of the big like ones that publishes, and it's just like 1,000-page phone book of 20-page stories, and so yeah. So anyway, what would you give this one, John?
Oh, like I said, I liked it a lot. The art was fantastic. It's my first like I said true quote unquote manga. So, I don't want to say it's like.
Hey, if you overrate it or something, then but like honestly, Junji Ito is known for being
okay. Well, it was really fantastic. Honestly, so like my gut told me to give it a 9. I felt like I was going backwards on it, but I think I'm gonna give it a 9 because I really enjoyed it. Like I totally would love like a continuation of the story, or like I would be interested to see more of his
dog
stuff.
Prequel.
Yeah, the dog prequel.
Stink dogs.
Stink dogs.
Yeah. Cool. That's very cool. I'm gonna give this an 8. I thought as a horror story, it worked very well. It was very engrossing.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this book was maybe like 400 pages, but manga reads so much faster than American comics that I think I read this whole thing in like an hour and a half or something like that. Just like, because it's all like running from shark. Next page.
Yeah, you're really. It's more appreciating the art.
Yeah,
and then a couple pages of like solid story, and then awesome art.
Yeah.
And then like a little more continuation of the story. It's cool. It's done very well.
It is done well. Everything's paced well. I never got bored. I never knew what the fuck was going to happen.
Every time you turn the page.
Especially when that circus happened. I was like, where are we going now? Like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening now. So, it's definitely a totally different way of telling a story than I'm used to. It's definitely a unique story where they're like, it's 4 levels down, like at least. Where, like I said, you got the first one is, there's like shark, or there's like fish with legs, things growing out of them. Then, it was a government experiment. And then it's like, it's, these, I looked at it and they're actually organisms in themselves that they're like biomachines. And it's like, actually, the 4th level down is, no, they're actually Mother Nature. These organisms evolved
them,
and like make their own bodies and all the. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So totally. Oh yeah, and there's a spirit aspect to it, which never gets answered really. But maybe it was his imagination. Maybe it's spirit gas farts or whatever. I don't know. Maybe our farts are our spirits that we let out.
Every time we fart, we let a little bit of our spirit.
Exactly. Who knows? I don't know. And I enjoyed the humor in this a little. There's definitely things I think are supposed to be taken like not as serious. Or
there's no way the floaty bag coming back from Okinawa all the way back to Tokyo just floating.
You son of a bitch!
I got you now.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give this one a solid 8. I had fun reading it. Now that I've read some more manga, it is not like one of like I think because I've been reading Berserk, and maybe because this is like a actual one-shot story. But like Berserk is an ongoing, and so is Vinland Saga, which I'm reading, and those two, I feel have better stories. But that's probably because they're ongoing stories, whereas this is like one and done. There's 12 parts to it or whatever, but like it's all in one contained story or whatever. So, but I did enjoy it a lot. It is horrific. Like I said, I have not read many comics where I turn a page and go, "Oh my good God," and that happened at least 3 times in this comic.
Agreed. Yes,
at least. There was some fucked up stuff in this book, and I appreciated that because that's what you want from a horror book. So, it was totally different than anything else I've ever read, which is very unique and very cool. So I'm gonna give it an 8. You're gonna give it a 9. Next week, we are going to be reading something that's, for once, we're going to read something that's actually like relevant to pop culture that's happening. The show Sweet Tooth is airing on Netflix. That is based on a comic book from Vertigo. And we are going to read the first volume of Sweet Tooth, which is issues 1 through 5 of the 2009 series Sweet Tooth. So check that out. and let us spoil it, or
Yeah, I'm intrigued because all I know is the tiny bit you've told me. I didn't even watch the trailer yet.
Deerhead Boy?
Yeah, Deerhead Boy.
That's what you see on the cover of the first issue.
Fallout Boy, Deerhead Boy.
Oh God,
I'm kidding. Hopefully, was not made from that.
oh my God, we're gonna have to talk about that
We
in
will.
the episode now that I know that. So, but anyway, yeah, so we're gonna read Sweet Tooth, and yeah, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel for exclusive content. Matt is really pumping out some comic individual, specifically like
Reviews and stuff. I'm trying to do. I'm gonna try to stay on schedule. Try to do 2 comic reviews a week, just issue reviews, and then 1 like big hardcover or trade paperback review. So try to get 3 things out every week on YouTube. So we got some good content, and then as John watches trailers and stuff, he's going to start reacting to whatnot to those. Just we've been trying to figure it out because we're a little bit new to video editing on like how do you react to things on YouTube with the audio and all this stuff. So we're figuring it out, but we'll get there. We're not the most tech savvy fellas. So yeah, anyway, I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.